you have to particularize your problem. Why can't men find women to date? That's not your problem. Your problem is why you can't find the woman you want. You have to assume that's your problem, because otherwise you have to assume that it's the women's problem. And really? They're all wrong and you're right. Really? Lucky you. Maybe you are. You're an undiscovered gem of some sort. Probably not. Women are more picky in their mate choices than men, especially sexually. That's the case in every culture. It's not surprising, because women have more at stake sexually than men do, per episode, because men don't get pregnant, obviously. And so that female pickiness is that's the case. That's definitely true. Whether it's worse now or not, I doubt if it is. I would say to young men who are irritated at women is, if you're irritated at women, as a class of creature, there's something wrong with you, because they're right. You're wrong. They're right to not pick you. If they're not picking you, it's because they're right. It wasn't like I was particularly successful with girls when I was young. So I know what that rejection is like. I know what that fear is like. I don't know it as well as some men know it, because I wasn't rejected outright. What you have to understand is that, what do you expect from women? If you got pregnant because you had sex, you'd be pretty damn choosy too. So, clue in a bit. And then, well, don't they find you attractive? Well, maybe you're not. Like, have you paid attention to how you dress? Do you have a plan? Are you as educated as you could be? Are you a liar? Are you a rabid pornography user? Because maybe that's undermining your motivation to seek out a woman and grow yourself up. It's like, if you're rejected constantly and you're out there really trying, because that's another thing to ask yourself is, well, how many women have you actually asked out? And are you so sure that you're not picking women who will certainly reject you because you're trying to bat out of your league? Because you might be. So, and I'm speaking about this as a clinician too, because I had plenty of men in my practice who were, radically unsuccessful with women. I had one man in particular. He was so afraid of women, he couldn't use the phone. He was too afraid of everyone to use the phone. And he had been bullied like mad. And he had his problems. So I know what this is like. But pornography is a big problem. It's a big problem. It's a real curse, that pornography, in my opinion, because it's an easy out. And so we don't know what the consequences of that are. We're starting to understand some of them. But if you were better, you'd be more successful with women. Yeah. So you have to have that in your mind. And you cannot be angry at women. It's stupid. Women, it's like women being angry at men. It's a sign of psychological trouble, that. Well, what seems to be happening is that if male enrollment falls below a certain percentage, and it looks like it's something like 40%, then the females start not going too. And that's not surprising. I mean, really? Of course. How many people meet their prospective mates in university or college? Pretty much everyone who goes that route. So it's not surprising that would happen with young people. And the fact that male enrollment is declining is, it's a shocking indictment of the education system in general. And the failure of boys all the way through the education system is the same thing, the increasing failure of boys. So, I thought that part of it might be that girls will play boys' games, but boys won't play girls' games. So there's a bit of that going on with boys themselves, I think. If a girl plays boys' games, she's admired by the girls and the boys. But if a boy plays girl games, well, he's not necessarily admired by the girls or the boys. I don't mean that boys shouldn't play with girls or something stupid like that. Yeah. That isn't what I mean. I'm trying to figure out this enrollment issue and what's going on, and obviously girls, for whatever reason, are being encouraged to value their education in a way that boys aren't, And that's partly marketing and messaging as well, because girls are taught fairly consistently now that they should be their best self, and the world needs more female power and so on and so forth. And that's probably true. But the underlying message there is, well, instead of boy power and man power, not along with, but instead of. Because, if women ran the world, there'd be no wars. It's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. You really think that? It's like, how dim can you possibly be to believe that?
For the men who are complaining about the standards of women today and it being elevated, that what can they do to improve themselves to be so desirable instead of focusing simply in on the inability of, what
be
you're going
a little
through
stronger, be a little stronger, dress a little better, speak a little more clearly, aim a little higher, and practice that, and that'll work. Now, I know that that's more difficult for some people than others, because some people bear incredibly difficult developmental burdens, and I'm not saying that this is easy, but I'm saying that it's a useful reaction. Like, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Complain about women? I've seen that in men. I went out with a group of men who were having trouble with their wives, and they'd gone off to this couples retreat, and it was mostly rubbish, although they were trying a bit to get their lives together. And I spent a whole day with them. There were 3 of them. And one of them was a guy that I'd known for quite a while, and every single word he said was a lie. And all these 3 did the whole day was complain about their wives. And I thought, what the hell's wrong with you guys? You picked them. They're these women you picked, and maybe they have their flaws, but they're your wives. And that's how you talk about them? And you think they're the problem? You're so dumb that you don't even know that you shouldn't badmouth your wife. Just because she's your wife. Like when Tammy and I got married, we had a discussion about that. It's like, she has her flaws and I have my flaws, but I'm her husband and she's my wife. And there's a certain respect that goes along with that. Category, if you have any sense. And so that's an extension of the same thing. It's best to look to yourself. Now and then you can, things have gone rotten in society and you have to bear your responsibility. You have to address that at a social level and a communal level. But fundamentally, it's and you do so much less harm if you look to yourself first as the problem. And believe me, you're plenty of problem for you. You're all the problem you need for you. That's for sure. So let's say you are having trouble finding a mate, and you think, well, I'm reasonably symmetrical. I'm in decent physical condition. I'm young. I have a decent salary, but still, okay, well, that's a deep dive issue. I don't know what's wrong. We'd have to talk about that. And I do mostly listen. It's like, you seem okay. So why don't you have a partner? Well, that's a deep mystery. It's really a deep mystery. It's nothing trivial. There's no simple solution to that. And so, again, that's why I don't really do sociology in some sense, except insofar as I understand the role of the individual in relationship to society. So I would say to someone like that, practically, if you want to do something, go see a cognitive behavioral psychologist and take the problem apart and strategize. That you'll figure out how to fix it.
That's good.
You have to particularize your problem. Why can't men find women to date? That's not your problem. Your problem is why you can't find the woman you want. You have to assume that's your problem, because otherwise you have to assume that it's the women's problem. And really? They're all wrong and you're right. Really? Lucky you. Maybe you are. You're an undiscovered gem of some sort. Probably not.
So in your personal experience from your years of marriage, and there's also years of study, what would you say are things that men need to be focusing in on when it's trying to select a woman for a long-term marriage partner?
Well, you want someone honest. That's really, really important. Someone who will do her best to tell the truth. And my wife swore she'd do that before we got married, and she has. Probably better than I have. And so that's a rock, man, at the bottom of things, So and you can't underplay the role of sexual attraction. And that's a mysterious thing. And so that's crucial as far as I'm concerned.